I'm going to demonstrate my method for multiplying matrices. It is not as simple as multiplying corresponding entries. So here's what I do, okay? I take stock of what is the rows in the first matrix and columns in the second matrix. So this is the first matrix, this is the second matrix. This is the first row of the first matrix, the second row of the first matrix. Row 1, row 2. Okay? This is the second matrix, this is column 1, this is column 2. As far as the first row, this is the first entry, second entry, third entry of the first row of the first matrix. For the second row of the first matrix, second row, first entry, second entry, third entry. When it comes to columns, for the columns of this matrix, first entry, second entry, third entry. For this column, first entry, second entry, third entry. What you are going to be doing is you will be multiplying entries from rows of first matrix and columns of the second matrix. I will write that more neatly. You will be multiply entries from first row from rows of first matrix rows of the first matrix and columns of second matrix. Okay? To make sure that fits, I'm going to turn this screen a little bit, but not that much. Okay. So, I'll start by doing row 1 and column 1. Then I'll do row 1 and column 2. Now what you do is you do each row by each column, as many columns as there are. Then you do the second row by each column, the second matrix. So first row, or how about I put it this way, row 1 times column 1. And that's going to be first, second, third. These each have 1, 2, 3 matrices, or 3 entries. 1, 2, 3 entries, 1, 2, 3 entries. You must have the same number of entries, okay, from the rows to the columns. So first row, first entry, -1, 2, and 3. -1, 2, and 3. And I'll be multiplying by column 1. 7, 10, so 7, 10, and 20. Okay. Oh, and then take sum. So that's going to be -7, 20, and 60. And the sum would be 80, take away 7, that's going to be 73. Okay, take sums, those will be your entries. All right. Row 1, so we did row 1 by column 1. Now we'll do row 1 by column 2. Okay, so row 1 times column 2. -1, 2, and 3. And -8, -11, 21. That's going to be 8. That's -22. and that's 63. So 8 plus negative 22 plus 63, 49. Okay? So I have done row 1 by every column. Now I repeat the process for row 2. Okay? Row 2 times column 1. So again, it's going to be the first entry, negative 4, 5, and negative 6. First entry, second entry, third entry. And then I'm going to take the entries of the first column. 7, 10, and 20. So that will be negative 28, 50, and negative 120. And the sum, negative 28 plus 50 plus negative 120, negative 98. And that will be an entry in the new matrix. Okay? And finally, now that I've done row 2 times column 1, now it'll be row 2 times column 2. So, first, second, third. Okay, no, I don't always multiply that. And then first entry, second entry, third entry. All right, so that's going to be 32. That's negative 55. And that's negative 126. 32, negative 55, negative 149. All right. So this is going to go into row 1. So you're going to have a new matrix. This one's going to go in the first row, first column. This one will go in the second column, top row. This one is going to be in the first column, second row. First column, second row. And this one's going to be second row, second column. So, there is our new matrix. Okay? That is the result of multiplying these two matrices. All right? Let me pause here and do something. All right, this time I did numbers in one and variables in another. Okay? So, but it's the same idea. It's going to be row 1 times column 1. First, second, because there's only one entry, two entries. One entry is two entries. Okay? So the first entry is 8. And the second entry is negative 10. Okay, column 1, A and B. So this will be 8A when they're multiplied. This is negative 10B. So the sum will be 8A plus negative 10B, which should be 8A minus 10B. Okay? That's going to be an entry of a new matrix. Okay? Next I will do row 1 by column 2. Okay? So the first entry will be 8. Second entry is negative 10. And then column 2 is X and Y. Okay, so that will be 8X minus 10Y, we'll skip the extra step and just make this 8x minus 10y. This also will be an entry. All right, so having done this row by every column, we will now move to this row by every column. So now we have row 2 times column 1. First entry is 7, second entry is 1. Okay, column 1 is A and B. First entry is A, second entry is B. A, B. So we end up with 7A and 1B. The sum would be 7A plus B. That will be a new entry for the next matrix. And then row 2 by column 2. Okay, so we did this by the column, this by the other column. Then we did this row by this column. Now we got to do this row by this column. Okay, so the first entry is still 7. The second entry is 1. And of this column, the first entry is x. The second column is y. So we end up with 7x and 1y, which would result in a sum of 7x plus y. And that also will be an entry in the new matrix. So here's what we have. This entry will go with the top row in the first column. This entry will go in the second row, first column. This entry is second column, first top row. And then this entry is the second column, second row. And this is how you would multiply matrices involving variables. I'm going to pause here and set up an example of a non-multipliable matrix. All right, I'm going to talk about this matrix. Okay, so now we start with row 1 by column 1. First entry, second, third. Okay, so 19 by negative 3. So the 19, 5, and negative 12. So first entry, second entry, third. And then for column 1, the first entry is negative 3. The second entry is 8. And there's nothing to put there. Okay? Nothing. Nothing at all. So these matrices cannot be multiplied. Okay? There's no product. Okay? The reason is because there has to be a corresponding entry. Okay? Similarly, let me put another example on the board. Okay? Let's see. 7, 8, 4, negative 2, and 10, 20, 30, 61, 82, 104. Okay? We'll start with row 1 by column 1. First entry, second entry. So that'll be 7 and 8. And you have 10, 20, and then you need a 30. That means there's nothing to match over there. Okay? So because of this, there is also no product. Okay? All right, let me pause here and I'll do a couple more that are multipliable. All right, so let me talk about a few more doable ones, okay, that may look like they have odd shapes. All right, so this one, row 1 times column 1. Okay, first entry, second entry. First, second. So row 1, first entry is negative 13. Second entry is 8. Column 1 is 20 and 50. All right, so that's going to be negative 260. That's going to be 400, giving me a grand total of 140. That will be an entry in the new matrix. So now I have done the top row by the only column. Now I need to do it by the second row by every column. So row 2 times column 1, because there's only one column. The first entry is 12. The second entry is 0. And then the first entry is 20 of the column, and the second entry of the column is 50. This ends up being 240. This ends up being 0, 240. And folks, that's it. That's all the multiplications that are to be done, because we've done this row by the only column, this row by the only column. So the resulting matrix has only one column. And that's going to be in the first row. This will be in the second row. Okay? You can get something like that. All right? Let me make this more interesting. No, I'll leave it the way it is. All right, this similarly will be row 1 times column 1. First entry. First entry is 32, but the first row is 32. And the second entry, or the second entry of the first row would be 17. Column 1, x and y. So 32x, 17y. The sum would be 32x plus 17y. That will be an entry in the new matrix. And then the second one. So we've done row 1 by every column. Now we need to do row 2 by every column. So the first entry is 16. The second entry is negative 25. And then column 1's first entry is x. Second column is y, or second entry for the first column is y. So that'll be 16x minus 25y. 16x plus negative 25y is minus 25y. That also will be an entry in the new matrix. So the product, they only have one column. It will only have one column. The top row will be 32x plus 17y. The second row, first column, will have 16x minus 25y. All right, and I am stopping.